Thank you again for listening to the roundtable discussions. We're honored today to have Jodie Birdwell as part of the Women in CCR series. Again, the motivation behind all of this is to show how some of the top women in the industry have truly broken down barriers for others to follow. My name's Stuart Keeter. I'll be the facilitator for this forum. I'm a senior consultant here for MRI Raleigh. MRI is a Forbes Top 20 executive recruiting company, and I recruit top talent for companies in the civil, power, environmental area. So let's begin the forum. Jodie, tell us a little bit about your career and what's your current job.
Sure, Stu. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. I think we were talking a little before. I think it's really great that you're doing this series. My name is Jodie Birdwell. I am a general manager at the Tennessee Valley Authority. I'm in a group called Strategy and Engineering in the Civil Projects Organization at TVA. I've been there for about 2.5 years in that group, but I've been at TVA for about 10 years. I'm actually an attorney by training. And after law school, I worked as a litigator in a large Washington, D.C. law firm. And I came to TVA as a litigator in the general counsel's office, where I was happy to come back to my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was working, doing car accidents, contract disputes, things like that. Before I moved into a more advisory position in the general counsel's office, advising clients on environmental matters at TVA. I did that for about 6 years before I was encouraged to pursue a leadership role and leadership training, which I did, and I stepped into the general manager position that I have now. I lead an exceptional team of people. We do strategy and engineering kind of in 3 buckets. One would be sort of the civil type of work associated with TVA's coal ash units. The second bucket would be the groundwater monitoring programs that we execute under the CCR rule and various other regulatory programs for the CCR sites. And then the third bucket is more wastewater treatment projects.
Wow, that's great. What job do you want in the future?
Well, last Friday, I just graduated from an executive MBA program at the University of Tennessee, Haslam's College of Business, and the focus of that program was on strategic leadership. So right now, I'm really interested in sort of honing the skills I learned from that program. I do have a general idea of broadening my experience over time. But I think that's as forward-looking as I am right now, except I do intend to spend a little bit of time this year in my free time working up a business plan for an idea I have, if nothing else, just to kind of practice the skills I've learned over the past year.
All right, that's great. Why did you choose CCR?
Well, CCR chose me. It was not something I ever expected to be in. I ended up sort of becoming the in-house legal expert in the general counsel's office, but I stuck with it because I found myself in a position working with such an exceptional client group. The people, the environmental scientists, the engineers, who were my clients were just a really outstanding, conscientious group of people. And, when you find a group like that to work with, that's really where you want to stay. I also had a great boss at the time who was great at maximizing my strengths. And so that's why I stuck with it.
What led you down this track to the CCR?
Well, I was working as a litigator in the general counsel's office when my husband and I decided to become the guardians of 2 young children, ages 3 and 5. We adopted them 2 years later when they were 5 and 7. And as a litigator, I was having to travel for really large chunks of time, and I didn't feel like I had a lot of control over my own schedule because you're sort of at the mercy of the court docket schedule. So I saw that the advisory attorneys, they did a lot more of their work just from their offices, and they seemed to have a little bit more control over their schedule. So I went to the general counsel at the time, a man named Ralph Rogers, who I will always appreciate for him helping me at this time. And I just kind of told him, like, hey, I need to bond with these kids. I need a change in my schedule. Could I move into an advisory role? And the next thing I know, the head of the environment group was in my office asking me if I would become TVA's new waste attorney. And I remember thinking at the time, gosh, that is not a title I want to use at my high school reunion. But that's not what I said out loud. Out loud, I said, yes, please, thank you. And I made up my mind to just start calling myself an environmental attorney. I thought that sounded a little bit better. So that's sort of how I stepped that. That was about a year before the CCR rule came out. So, there was a proposed rule, so I was kind of able to get up to speed on it, and then we sort of hit the ground running when the CCR rule came out and helping TVA come into compliance with all of the requirements under it.
Oh, wow. That's great. Great story. Who inspires you?
Well, can I say two people, Stu?
Oh, yeah.
I'd have to say Dolly Parton and a woman named Dr. Elaine Phillips, who is a retired professor of biblical studies at my alma mater, Gordon College in Massachusetts. Dolly Parton, it almost sounds like a cliche to say that because she's such an icon and she seems to always be trendy. But I really do admire Dolly Parton so much, first for her talent as a songwriter and a storyteller, but for her work ethic too, and her success as a businesswoman. And Dr. Phillips is, she's actually, you wouldn't compare her to Dolly Parton, I guess, at first blush, but the two women are somewhat similar in that neither of them had children. But they just poured themselves into the young people around them, and they poured in spirits of kindness and generosity and, say, a zest for life. Dr. Phillips certainly did that with me when I was in college, and I just think very highly of both of those women.
Very good. What's been the most surprising part of being a woman working in coal ash?
Well, I might be the only one on my level that has both a working spouse and children still in the home. So I think I didn't expect to be in that position where, I think I felt a little bit at a disadvantage when I realized that. And I wasn't really able to see another person on my level doing that juggling act. I'm sort of figuring it out as I go. But the good thing is that I do feel like the people around me are really understanding about it, and I can, talk about it. And there certainly are men and women at the level below me or two down from me who are doing that juggling act. So I hope I can provide some sort of example for them to hang in there and stay on that work-life balance journey to the extent that is what they want.
Very good. What is your favorite part of your career?
Well, that's an easy one. The people. Absolutely the people. I work with a fantastic group of people. They really take to heart TVA's mission of service. And I'm proud of that team. I feel like what we do in being responsible managers of these coal ash sites really does improve life for the people of the Tennessee Valley. So I'd say the best part of my career is when some of those folks who work with me get recognized for their efforts and their their competence and their hard work. It's one of the reasons I encourage the folks on my team to publish and to speak at conferences, and it might drive them crazy that I pester them that way, but I want other people to see what I see. Actually, some of the people on my team right now are pursuing their own MBA programs and various other certificates and accomplishments, and that just makes me so proud that they're kind of going after, what they want and lifelong learning.
What is your most memorable moment working in Coal Ash?
That would have to be Kingston, I think. Before I came to TVA, I was working as a contractor on some of the issues associated with the Kingston spill. And that was right after the spill, so I toured the site and I saw what it looked like in 2009. I came in-house the next year and had the privilege of being able to observe the restoration process as it proceeded. And, that whole process and cleanup process was done so well. It really is a testament to TVA's resolve to do the right thing. And for me, that really culminated in, I think, early 2017 when the EPA reported out that the reservoir ecosystem around the Kingston plant had returned to baseline conditions. And that had happened in just 5 years, not the 10 to 15 that they had predicted. So that was really an accomplishment. So really getting to see the beginning and the end is something I'm not likely to forget. I mean, it's a beautiful site now. It's got a migratory bird sanctuary, a park, hiking trails, biking trails, and the dredge cell itself looks like a great big golf course. So just, I guess the before and after is going to be memorable for me.
No, that's awesome. What is your favorite project you worked on?
I'm proud of a number of our projects. Our groundwater monitoring program is really something else. It's very robust, and the team that's working on it is really exceptional. Including the contractors that we have working on it, and we're learning a lot about our sites from it. But probably the one right now I'm really excited about is one we're about to kick off. So my team has done the strategy and design associated with removing coal ash from the retired Allen plant in Memphis, Tennessee. And TVA's plans for that plant, they're going to take down the plant and we're going to remove the coal ash from the coal ash units and take them to a lined landfill. And that's going to start sometime next year. And I'm excited about it because it's an unusual site in that we don't own the property. We don't own the property that the coal ash units are on. So by removing the ash, we can really turn this into a blank slate or a blank canvas for the city of Memphis to turn it into something that will bless Memphis. It's right beside McKellar Lake, so it could be some sort of terminal or port for industry. It's in an industrial area, so there's a lot of economic development opportunity for Memphis in us doing that. So that excites me.
No, that's great. What have you seen really the biggest challenge of being a woman working in coal ash?
Well, I'm not sure how specific this would be about coal ash, but for me, it would have to be work-life balance. For me to do the job well, because I don't have a technical background, I really do need to go to the sites, put my eyes on the projects, and ask a lot of questions of the construction managers, the contractors, the folks that are there. And at the same time, I have really strong domestic instincts with a husband and children at home that I love. So I can feel pulled at times with the travel to the sites. I really do enjoy and then needing to be at home. So sometimes I can feel like wherever I am, I should be somewhere else. This has resulted in times in me finishing my work or coming home and then wanting to cook dinner. And by the time I do that and cook and then clean up and, my family gets what's left of me, and that can sometimes be not much. You can, when you're tired, you can be less inquisitive about your kid's day. And so in my own life, I've had to relinquish a little bit of control over the domestic side. This is a journey for everybody, I know, but for me, I really needed to admit that I needed help. And we have this angel from heaven who helps us. She helps with driving. She helps with cooking. That was difficult for me at first, especially since she cooks better than I do. But I am really reaping the rewards of that, because then when I'm done my day, I still have the energy that I need to have quality time with my family, to be able to, I have a front porch, and I have a little routine with my kids where they'll take turns, and we'll grab seltzers and we'll sit out there and I'll say, tell me about your day. And sometimes they pretend that they don't like this routine we have, but I know they do like it. And I never had that before when I was trying to be all things to all people. So yeah, I'm figuring it out, but it has been a challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is the biggest change you've seen in the field since you started?
Wow, it is really remarkable how far we have come at all of our sites. When the CCR rule first came out, it was, as you know, it is a very robust rule, lots of requirements. It was pretty overwhelming at the beginning to think about everything that we had to do to come into compliance with it. I think your listeners are most likely aware that there were these near-term deadlines, and then it was they were big deadlines. You had to have hundreds of documents researched, written, posted to a website, and it seemed like every year after the CCR rule became published, it seemed every year there was a big deadline. And the near-term ones were really difficult to meet, but you also had to keep your eye on those long-term deadlines, because if you didn't, you would have trouble meeting those too. And now that it's 2020, you can drive the site, you can see really the fruits of those labors. We've got so much information on our public website. It shows all of the work that we've done. We have these robust groundwater monitoring networks everywhere. Many of the sites look like golf courses now. We're 99% done with CCR impoundment. It's only dry landfills, and we're either closing all the impoundments or we're pretty far along in collecting the data we need to make those decisions with our regulators. So even though full compliance is still years away and we have a lot of construction work left, it really feels like we're kind of on the home stretch, just given how far we've come.
What advice would you give someone starting out?
I'm not sure that the advice I have would be so much for somebody starting out. I think my advice would be more for those wanting to attract more women to leadership roles in CCR. For me, I don't know that I would have stepped forward on my own initiative into a leadership role. I'm relatively ambitious, so I'm not sure why I wouldn't have put myself forward, but I kind of viewed myself as an attorney and an individual contributor. And it really mattered that a leader and mentor at TVA, Bob DC, spoke into my life and told me that he thought I had leadership potential. And my boss at the time was also just really supportive of it, and made me feel like it was something I could do. So that was what I needed. So I would advise people to look at the women around you that have leadership potential and tell them what you see. Encourage them to pursue leadership training, which is great. If you haven't pursued leadership training, it is, I think as an attorney, I hate to admit it, but I think it's something that a lot of attorneys aren't really trained to do, don't really, it really interferes with their work and their billable hour requirements to pursue leadership training. And so I think it didn't occur to me, but then once I was doing it, I realized it's really training in how to be a good person, how to be a good listener, which I discovered I was not and had to work on. Anyway, that kind of encouragement may be all the oxygen that's needed to get a woman in your organization thinking about herself in a new way.
Yeah, very good. What has been the most challenging?
Well, COVID has certainly been challenging. Although it's been good too in that we've gotten away from our offices a little bit, and because we have our projects out in the field, you can go out in the field and socially distance yourself from other people while still being in their space. And I have found that has been much better for conversation, walking and talking, than stopping by somebody's office. But I guess probably when I first stepped into the role, that fear at the beginning of not fitting in, that I didn't belong. On the job sites, I didn't see many other women, some, but not many. And on top of that, I was an attorney, so I felt like I had to ask tons of questions about the technical side of things. I didn't just walk in knowing a lot of what everybody else knew. So luckily, I tend to have to be a little bit uncomfortable in order to be satisfied with my job, so it wasn't wholly bad that was a challenging part, but it was really good to have strong mentors at the time. John Kmeyer and Scott Turnbow for me, who I could just speak very candidly with and use as sounding boards about my experience until I could gain a little bit more confidence.
Where do you see the industry?
I hope we see some innovation coming out of some of these big construction projects that are going to be happening. I think, a lot of the utilities are facing, decisions about closure of their CCR units, and whether it's a closure in place or a closure by removal, those are going to be really big construction projects. And I would like to think that, and would like to see some innovation coming out of those. How can we, if you're closing in place, how can we close in place in a way that maximizes and balances value to the ratepayers, the environment, and the surrounding economy? I'd like to see if we can expand the beneficial use market so that closed and closing sites are less of a drain on the balance sheet and are not just, taking up landfill space. TVA's mission of service is to improve the quality of life for people in the valley through, affordable energy, protection of the environment, and economic development. So it would be really great to see these construction projects move forward in a way that tries to maximize all of those three things. I know it's TVA's mission, but I think it's a mission that every utility can get behind.
Yeah, TVA has been great being a trendsetter for the industry over the years. What would surprise us about you, Jodie?
Well, I'll tell you what surprises me about myself. I live on a farm. I live on a small farm in East Tennessee, just south of Knoxville. We have bees, various birds, mountain bike trails, and fruit trees on our property, and I did not expect to be living in a place like this. It is a slice of heaven, though, and I love it. But my husband and I are both attorneys, so we don't entirely know what we're doing. We've we've joked about calling it the trial and error farm, but we are having a lot of fun with it.
Oh, that's awesome, Jodie. This has been awesome. Thank you again for being part of the series. If you do
Thank
have
you.
any follow-up questions for Jodie, please email Stuart@mriraleigh.com, and that's spelled STUART@mriraleigh.com. Thank you again.
Thank you.